Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, popping, locking, salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome to the welcome to the mashup.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Hey everybody. So I used to work with this guy that was my favorite guy to work with because, among other things, he was the kind of guy who, if he didn't like something, you could reasonably expect that he would say something like he'd stab our boss in the eye with a screwdriver or something. It was great. It was wonderful. But that's kind of a double-edged sword, because that kind of person is exactly the kind of person who at some point says that he's going to stab his boss in the eye with a screwdriver, and then we don't work together anymore. It's kind of sad when you think back on it. Sean? Sean? Am I by myself here? I think we lost Sean. Something's up with Sean anyway. Well, welcome to the Mashup, folks. I'm going to keep going until Sean figures it out and gets on in here. So, first off, happy Airborne Friday, but not all happy, because Saskatoon prosecutor upset she's not allowed to wear a poppy in court. So Saskatchewan has a law explicitly saying that the Saskatchewan Remembrance Observance Act ensures employees are able to wear a poppy recognized by the Royal Canadian Legion in the workplace if they choose, unless it poses a danger to health, safety, or welfare of the worker or others. Despite this, the Saskatchewan courts have said that people aren't allowed to wear poppies in there. So the courts are actually breaking the laws that they're supposed to be enforcing. Well done, Saskatchewan. On the other side of it, we actually appreciate the things that you guys have been doing. Coots 6.5. Lighter sentence sought for child abductors so he can stay in Canada. This guy tried to abduct a child, actually had the child in the car with him when the dad stopped him. And they're saying, please give him a lighter sentence, because if you actually give him the sentence that he would normally get for this egregious crime, he would be kicked out of the country. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, oh, there's Sean. Sean.
Am I back?
We usually start at 10, Sean.
Am I back? Like, you can hear me and see me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
All right.
Welcome
to Mashup 183. Sean's late. Carry on, Twos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was really weird the way because you were showing up but not showing up, and I couldn't quite tell if you were here or not. It was very confusing. But we just talked about Saskatchewan and the poppies in the court, or lack thereof. And now we're talking about the lighter sentence sought for child abductors so that he can stay in Canada. And I was just about to say that I don't think it's unreasonable for us to say that we should hold aspiring immigrants to an even higher standard, rather than the opposite, where we say, oh, well, you know what? I mean, if we actually punish him the way the law is written, then this child abductor won't be able to stay in our country. That's not a bad thing. So, yeah, that's the Coot 6.5, the Airborne Friday. If you guys have any community notes, send them out to us. I think I lost Sean again. So I don't know what's up with Sean. But you know what? We have a special guest here today, sitting patiently in the background. So let's bring on Franco Terrazzano of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation.
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Looks like I'm doing a little bit better than Sean is right now.
Well, that's not necessarily saying much, but yes, it's great to have you back on here. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, it's always my pleasure, man. And what a busy week. Hey,
well, yeah.
Things are going nuts here in Ottawa.
Well, that's exactly why we wanted you to come on and talk for a little bit. The budget.
Yeah, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. The banker was supposed to be better than with the numbers than the drama teacher, but man, the government is borrowing like crazy. I mean, this year the federal government's going to borrow like almost $80 billion. It's absolutely nuts. You have this position now where the debt is spiraling out of control because spending is spiraling out of control. And, I know a lot of your listeners and fans are out there in Alberta, and the only sales tax they're paying there is the federal one. Well, every single dollar that you're now paying in federal sales tax is not going to services. It's not going to lower taxes. It's going to pay interest charges on the debt.
Well, our interest charges on the debt, I did some quick back of the napkin math, and it looks like it's just shy of $2,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country per year.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more than $1,000. When I did the numbers, it was, around $1,300, but, very close. And think about that, folks, right? The government is taking more than $1,000 from you this year. Each person listening to this, more than $1,000 from you. That money is not going to improve healthcare. It's not going to fix the roads. It's not even going to pay down the debt, right? It's just the interest charges on the government credit card. $1,000 plus out of your wallet going to the bond fund managers on Bay Street.
Well, and keep in mind that that's not just you as an adult in the workforce. If you have a baby, they're taking $1,000 from that baby.
Yeah, like if you have a family of 4, it's costing you $4,000 plus, right? So this is nuts. And look, let's cut through some of the government spin here too, because the way that Carney wrote this budget, or whoever wrote this budget, they're trying to kind of spin Canadians on this idea that they're being fiscally responsible, right? That they're looking for savings in the budget. But, this year, the Carney government's going to spend $581 billion. Mm-hmm. That's $38 billion more than what the government spent last year.
And
then the Trudeau government spent last year. Yeah, there you go, right? And look, every single year, the government is spending billions and billions and billions of dollars more. So how are you saving money whenever year you spend more and more?
Well, I mean, they're changing. Well, the messaging is changing a little bit, and they're coming up with some new fancy words. They're basically they're self-identifying the debt as investment, and thinking that that's magically going to change it on any sort of a balance sheet or anything like that. And then the other thing is now they're talking about net debt to GDP ratio, as opposed to when they used to just talk about debt to GDP ratio. And I thought that was really interesting because they're also including the pension as one of their, not even just an asset, but a liquid asset, a current asset.
Yeah. So let me talk about this because that actually hasn't really changed. I've noticed on social media, a lot of people talking about this, but the CTF, we've been calling out the federal government for their budgeting spin on this net debt for years, right? Because even under the Trudeau era, so you can go back a number of years now, the government would say, oh, our net debt is good compared to other G7 countries. But of course, that's just pure spin, right? Because net debt would include the assets subtracted from the debt within the Canada Pension Plan.
Current assets.
Right? So look, and the Fraser Institute, another think tank here in Canada, they've done a lot of great work on this, being like, well, if you actually don't cut the numbers the way the government is, and you look at gross debt, because it's not like politicians are just going to raid the Canada Pension Plan to pay down the debt. Canada's debt compared to many other industrialized peers is actually very bad. Right. So I've noticed a lot of attention around net debt. I'm glad people are bringing it up because it is just they're absolutely trying to spin you on that. But the government has been doing that for years. Even under Trudeau, they would always talk about net debt.
Well, and my understanding is that when they're comparing themselves to other countries, they're not including the sub-sovereign debt. And so it's not even an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah. And another thing too, right, is when the provinces get in really bad shape, like Newfoundland and Labrador, well, guess who bails them out? The federal government, right? So you're absolutely right to bring that in. Another thing that happened as well is instead of balancing the budget, the Carney's now talking about balancing the operating budget, right? Mm-hmm. But you're not balancing anything if you're borrowing tens of billions of dollars every single year, right? All this additional spending, because it is borrowed, you are still paying debt interest on all of this spending, right? And it's not like any of this is happening in a vacuum. We just had the last 10 years where the government completely broke the bank, doubling the debt. So it's not like the government has been running up all these surpluses, you know, in a good financial shape that now the government can start spending money like crazy. It's the exact opposite. And hey, I just also want to poke some holes here in Carney, talking about how spending is going to lead to all this, you know, economic activity, investments, yada, yada, yada. This is exactly what Trudeau sold Canadians on. Like, if you remember back in 2015, when he was first elected, Trudeau said he was going to run these modest little deficits and then balance the budget in 2019.
Was set in stone, he said.
Right? Yeah, very set in stone. And even Trudeau back in 2015 said the government was going to invest in infrastructure to grow the economy. So everything we're hearing from Carney, it's not new. It's a rehash of the last 10 years of the failed social experiment.
Forgive me for hopping in here, gentlemen. I was just
thanks
curious.
for joining us, Sean.
Yeah, well,
ladies and gentlemen, we're now joined by Sean Newman of the Sean Newman Podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, good to be. Good, thanks for having me here today, guys. I was curious, Franco, and maybe you guys already hashed this out, but you know, with the federal budget, was there anything that stuck out to you? I mean, like other than the price tag that was in there that you think people should know about? You're like look at where they're putting all this money, or look at where they're not putting the money.
I got one real quick, and then I'm sure Franco has dozens. But $8 million for government-funded climate fiction.
Like,
isn't that nice?
Yes.
Yeah. We've got a bunch through a couple. So one is $100 million for the FIFA Soccer World Cup, right? $100 million. Like, the government is broke, but somehow it thinks it has $100 million for the FIFA World Cup. Another one, you might have seen this, but it's an extra $150 million to the CBC.
Yeah.
Right. The CBC already costs taxpayers more than $1 billion a year, and Carney's going to dump another $150 million to the CBC. Now, the government in the budget also said it's going to work with the CBC to explore Eurovision. Like, I'm pretty sure isn't that like a Will Ferrell movie? Didn't they do like a whole movie about Eurovision back in the day?
He did. I didn't see it, but I know he did one.
Yeah, there's $40 million for a youth climate corps. $528 million for women and gender equality. There's $395 million going out the door through the Department of Canadian Heritage for, like, you know, the arts, telefilm, and a journalist slush fund. So, you know, before this budget, Carney's trying to frame this as like austerity. I mean, it would be about time that we'd see some government austerity here in Canada. But I mean, no, this is a big spending, big borrowing, big debt budget.
$11 million for holiday event coordination.
This is nuts. And hey, Sean, can I jump in on one of the questions you asked me about, like, what is something that stuck out other than the price tag? It's actually Carney's commitment to the industrial carbon tax. And I think this will be really interesting to you guys and a lot of your listeners, because I think we're going to get a real big fight with the federal government and the Alberta and Saskatchewan governments coming up soon here, right? So the consumer carbon tax, the one that you saw, you know, on your home heating bill, but he's doubling down with the industrial carbon tax. It seems like he's going to keep increasing it every year for the foreseeable future. But where the fight happens now is because in Saskatchewan, Scott Moe got rid of the industrial carbon tax, and he said Saskatchewan's going to be a carbon tax-free province, the only one that is. Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, she said she's going to freeze the industrial carbon tax. Now, that doesn't go nearly far enough. Like, I don't know why the Alberta government wants to have an industrial carbon tax. That makes absolutely no sense. But I think there's going to be a big fight between Ottawa and the provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan on Carney's industrial carbon tax.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a story as old as time out here in Western Canada, as you, I'm sure, well know, right? Being originally from out here, is that stuff that plays well for Eastern votes ends up kicking Western Canada in the junk.
Yeah, screw the West, we'll take the rest, right? Wasn't that an old campaign saying?
That was Pierre Trudeau who said that.
Did you get to Anita and Ann?
We talked about the net debt. Yeah,
but you talked about her saying we got a AAA credit rating.
Yes, which actually, Franco, you could probably expand on this. My understanding is that the credit rating is based entirely on self-reported numbers.
Well, so a couple things though, right? I don't know if you guys saw this, but Fitch, another rating agency who I think rated the government of Canada's position at AA, just put out a big warning yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw this, but yesterday afternoon, yeah, Fitch, and I just shared it on X last night, but Fitch said that persistent fiscal expansion and a rising debt burden have weakened Canada's credit profile and could increase rating pressure over the medium term. Federal finances run a high risk of further deterioration. So this is one of the, one of the more credible credit rating agencies. They put out this report following the budget, essentially being like, folks, you got to get your act together, or there's going to be some real bad news down the road. And why these ratings matter is because it can really influence how expensive it is for the government to borrow money, right? So you get these pressures from these rating agencies. If you get credit downgrades, it can make borrowing more expensive. And at the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that like the federal government is already wasting more money on interest charges than what it sends to the provinces in healthcare transfers. Well, I mean, you could really get a snowball effect here where pressure externally essentially massively increases debt interest charges and blows a huge hole in the federal budget.
And in which case they need to borrow more, in which case the credit gets downgraded further, and it keeps repeating itself because the interest rate that we pay on our debt is tied to the credit rating, right?
Oh, it certainly is influenced at, how good these credit rating agencies think that the government's position is. But like, what I always say, the number one threat to a government bureaucrat's paycheck is not ideology. It's not the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. It's interest charges on the debt. And the proof of that is look at what happened in Saskatchewan in the 90s, right? Under an NDP government in Saskatchewan, interest charges got so out of hand that you had the Saskatchewan government under the NDP having to close down dozens of hospitals across the Prairie Province. There you go. Right. So this is like the big problem. And I'm always saying, like, guys, like the time to put out the fire is when you see the smoke. It's not when your entire kitchen is engulfed in flames.
Yeah, I would agree.
Is that glitching out on my side?
Oh, Franco looks pretty good to me.
Okay, so here. Well, always does. That guy's sharp as hell. I just want to point out a couple interesting tweets. One, here's this guy saying, I agree 100% with Mark Carney's budget. I will read it when it's released. This is what we deal with. And then here's another one. Okay, Carney needs to sit Canadians down and explain how inflation and basic economics works. He should ask for 20 minutes from the networks, because Pierre's lies about inflation and government spending need to be corrected. Too many Canadians believe his lies. What is the relation between inflation and government spending? Franco, could you explain that to us?
Well, let me just first say that Mr. Poilievre was absolutely right on the money, like right when COVID was happening, right? I think he might have been the first to say, like, look, the government money printing, these massive deficits is what's going to lead to inflation. And he was right. Like, that's why we had a 40-year high. Right? Like, look, since the beginning of time, you have supply shocks, right? Like, let's just say a refinery goes down and then certain prices change, because if the level of money in society is the same, if one price goes up, other prices will go down as demand shifts. The only thing that leads to a steady, higher general price increase is money printing, is the expansion of the money supply. Okay, so how government spending and inflation works, like general price inflation, everything getting more expensive, the same that we saw, in 2022, 23, 24, is the money printer. That's what makes it happen, okay? So government spending is definitely inflationary when the Bank of Canada, Canada Central Bank, or the Federal Reserve in the US prints up new dollars to finance Ottawa's or the government's deficits, okay? And that happens with a click of a keypad, where a central bank creates new money by purchasing a financial asset like a government bond. Okay, so the more dollars that the central bank prints, the less that your dollars buy. And you could think of it this way, right? A central bank with a click of a keypad, can create a new dollar out of thin air by buying a government bond. Well, you can't print up more of what money buys, right? You can't print up more farmland. You can't print up more gasoline and diesel that you put in your car. You can't print up more apples at the grocery store. So essentially, the government is what creates this perfect storm of inflation, which is too many dollars chasing too few goods.
Well put.
Did that kind of make sense, guys? Is there anything in there that I went a little bit too far down the road? So where government spending is inflationary is when it is the central bank printing money to finance the deficit by purchasing financial assets like a government debt or government bond. Sorry.
Oh, I thought that was perfect. Like I kind of brush on things like this real quick and just breeze past them, but we've got a master's in economics sitting across from us. I thought this was a perfect example or a perfect opportunity to get somebody to explain it in a way that I definitively don't do nearly as well.
I feel I've been in and out of this conversation so many times. I don't know when to exit Franco out. So Tuz, I'm waiting on you to be like, if there's anything else we need Franco to talk on before.
Well, how about that? If there is anything else we need Franco to talk on, what do you got for us?
Yeah, let me just add here, because you probably seen some of the headlines in the news, like the government is finding savings, right? Or like the government is laying off bureaucrats or firing bureaucrats. Okay, so first of all, look, the government needs to cut spending, right? None of this like, oh, we're going to restrain spending, we're going to control spending. No. The time for the scalpel was like 6 years ago. We need a chainsaw. We need government spending to go down. Okay, the government added 100,000 extra bureaucrats in 10 years. And you know what? In 2015, it's not like there was a bureaucrat shortage in Ottawa, right? The federal government was too bloated in 2015. Then Trudeau hired like 100,000 bureaucrats. So the government should have fired tens of thousands of bureaucrats a year ago. Okay, and what the Carney is doing is Carney is saying he's going to find $50 billion of savings. Guess what? All of those savings happen in future years, right? The government is saying, oh, our diet will start Monday.
Well,
yeah,
I
right.
mean,
Monday never comes.
Yeah, they canceled the 2 billion trees planting thing. That's one of the announcements they made. Now, I can't remember the exact number. It was either 300 or 600 million they'd spent to date on it already.
Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. Another one too is which is actually a good move. It's a decent move. It's a step in the right direction. But again, all in future years, right? They're saying we'll do all the hard work down the road. It's the same with what Trudeau said, right? We'll balance the budget down the road. We'll cut spending down the road. That never happened, right? Monday never comes. But one thing, I'll talk about this and then you guys can kick me out. But look, one thing Carney says is, I believe he said he's going to bring foreign aid back down to pre-pandemic levels. And that is a step in the right direction, right? All of it's happening in future years. But let me just point this out, right? In the last year where data is available, the federal government spent $11 billion on foreign aid. Okay? The government spent almost twice as much on foreign aid as it did through the entire Department of Veterans Affairs.
And I would say
priorities. That's the government's priorities.
One of the worst things about it, too, I would say, is that a lot of it goes to a bunch of countries whose sovereign debt is significantly lower, either as a whole or per capita than Canada. Like, if anything, we should be getting foreign aid from China and Nigeria, not the other way around.
Well, let's just start by not spending $8,800 on a sex toy show in Germany. Right?
That's fair.
Whose jizz is this? That might be a start.
Let's just start there.
I don't know. You're talking about common sense, government spending.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is when it comes to government spending, these guys don't have a safe word.
Well done, Tuz. Well done. Franco, thanks for hopping on with us and giving us a breakdown of the federal budget and the insanity that continues to ensue here in Canada. Appreciate you giving us some time this morning.
Your time is always appreciated. But you guys never plug your podcast when you come on here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, we've got a couple different shows now. Best place to find all of our stuff is any of the podcast apps. Just type in Canadian Taxpayers Federation, or check us out on YouTube. Again, just type in Canadian Taxpayers Federation. And hey, fellas, just want to say thanks for having me on, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks,
cheers, guys.
Franco. All right, let's see if we can't get this on. Like, I feel like somebody is messing with me. I've just had, you know how this goes, Twos. The morning's going smooth. Got everything.
Yep.
I feel like I caught up with Twos' putting in 700 articles. I'm feeling great, folks.
You probably
And all of a
didn't,
sudden,
but
and
I appreciate
everything.
your optimism.
Yes, and then everything just decides to destruct on me. I'm like, okay, get back on. Destructs again. I'm like, all right, this is going to be Mashup 183. Challenge accepted. Twos. How about we get on to some rapid fire news? Is that fair? Have I skipped over something? Because you got to tell me you've been the captain of this ship at the start, which is a dangerous thing to allow, folks. But
Well,
so be it. Captain Two's at the helm today.
The one thing we have not mentioned so far yet today is that if you're enjoying this, please like it, share it, and tell people about this show.
Yeah.
All right, but some rapid
if you're
fire
along
news.
for the old Titanic, we're rolling along, hitting everything that's out in the big wide open today. Share it along. Have some fun with us, would you? Okay, let's start here. London, Ontario, 8 men were charged in a police sting trying to obtain sexual services from a child. All 8 of them have already been released on bail. Sing with me. Sing for the years. Sing for the laughter. Sing for the tear.
Yeah. The
Here's a list of
2-day
them.
operation. Yep. Go ahead.
Well, here's the list of them. 22, 22-year-old, 31-year-old, 34-year-old, 27-year-old, 31-year-old, 31-year-old, 27-year-old, 28-year-old, Attar, Admahalik, Ral, Kanani, Tawali, Singh, Sidal, Singh.
Yep. Yeah, so there's that. And then the next one we have here is Ford's considering scrapping the electric version of the F-150. It's a damn shame. I mean, they've got all this market demand. Everybody wants to buy them. They're profitable without government subsidies, and they have all of these factories ready to go. And yet, despite all of this, they're considering scrapping these. I don't even know. It's almost as though what we're being told by the companies that build these things isn't lining up with what we're being told by the politicians, Sean.
In October, the first month since the end of the federal EV tax credit, Ford's overall EV sales in the U.S. fell 24% from a year earlier. Ford dealers sold 66,000 gas-powered F-Series pickups, an uptick from a year earlier, and just 1,500 Lightnings, the fewest of any model. So you can see they're staring at that going, oh, no government subsidies? Oops.
We're going to have a specific factory dedicated to building 1,500 vehicles. Nah, that's not going to happen. 1,500. And keep in mind that a bunch of those were bought by government because the government's like, oh, we're going to support this. So, for example, I know that the city of Calgary has a whole ton of them in their fleet. So, you multiply that by, I don't know, 10, 12 major
urban
municipalities.
Areas. Yep.
That's just about every single vehicle that got sold was bought by the government.
Why the St. Thomas battery plant has a $400 million water problem. Officials say the massive electric vehicle battery plant under construction near St. Thomas will require about $400 million in upgrades to the local water system, a cost the municipal water supplier says can't be covered without help from the Ontario government, Volkswagen, or a massive increase in ratepayers. Running at full capacity, its supporting industries would consume about half the 91 million liters of treated Lake Erie water provided every day by the local water supply. Andrew Henry, director of regional water, said for the area's water supply system, the original water use forecast the plant was supposed to take 13 million liters a day, an amount that has now since jumped to 20 million liters a day.
Yeah, and its supporting industries would consume about half of the 91 million liters of treated Lake Erie water provided every day by the local water system. This battery plant is going to consume 40 million liters of water per day. Do you remember back in the day when there was all the protests around all the pipeline construction And what did they call themselves, Sean? They called them water protectors. We're not protesters, we're water protectors. We care about the water. The water is super important. Okay, all right, fair enough. Now, the EV battery plant is going to consume 40 million liters of clean water a day. Crickets. And not even just regular natural crickets. Crickets from the government paid factory of crickets.
Gunshots ring out at BC ostrich farm as cull moves ahead. The Supreme Court of Canada has announced earlier that it will not hear a final appeal against the cull by the farm's owner. That lifted any legal impediment to the killing of the flock that the CFIA says consists of 330 birds. Here is Dre Humphrey of Rebel.
This picture is devastating.
Yep.
Look at that. Now, one of the stipulations for killing animals is that you're supposed to do it humanely. And you just look at that. There's all these ostriches scattered around that entire pen. And they all got shot. Now, first off, I don't even know where you'd start with trying to get a clean shot at an ostrich because, I mean, a headshot's a bit tricky. And I imagine that it's mostly wings and legs, and that, finding the engine room on that thing's going to be pretty difficult. So, how many of those shots were kill shots? That's what I'd like to know. How many of those birds lying in there have more than one gunshot wound? And also, have you ever tried petting up an entire flock of animals and killing them all one by one? I don't see that as being a stress-free environment.
Guaranteed not.
Oh, absolutely not. I remember one time, a flock of sparrows flew into the chicken coop through the door, like the little chicken door. And I used to get 25 cents a sparrow. So I go in to feed the chickens, and there's no chickens in the chicken coop, and it's all sparrows. I'm like, gold mine. Close the door. Close that chicken coop door, run into the house, grab my pellet gun, run back out, and I eradicated sparrows on the farm. But here's the thing, is that they weren't
too happy about that?
No, they were actually quite upset about the entire ordeal and tried a couple of them managed to squeeze through a crack in the door kind of thing. Like, they were doing everything they could to get the hell out of there. It was not a humane way to do it. For a 10-year-old looking down the barrel of getting 25 cents a sparrow is a really good idea. But they were pretty stressed out at the end there. And I don't imagine these ostriches were any different.
No, I would think not. And so, Lisa Ferguson's comments wasn't humane, well over 700 shots, and someone on the highway almost got hit by a stray bullet on a live. Really?
That's interesting. So what's the first rule of shooting a gun?
Don't shoot towards people?
Yeah. Be aware of your target and beyond. Yeah, that's pretty basic. And also, I would say that here's the thing, is they were so intent on doing this under the auspice of darkness and everything like that. First off, it's going to be hard to see everything. And secondly, if you were going to do that, you'd probably want to do it from an elevated position so that you would be shooting downwards towards the ostriches rather than upwards. But they had to do it as clandestinely as possible. And so choices were made. Do we do this humanely, or do we do this in a way that hides what we're doing from the cameras?
More Canadian natural gas headed to Europe as Tourmaline inks supply deal with British gas owner. The contract will see Tourmaline deliver 50 million British thermal units per day. Oh, read that out, Sean. The equivalent of 5 liquefied natural gas cargoes a year to Centrica beginning in April of 2028, the company said Wednesday.
Yes. So apparently, there is a case for LNG exports.
Shocking. Shocking,
Yeah.
twos. Shocking.
Oh, and Lori says they did have 2 raised booths at the end for the assassins. So yeah, I guess I might have been slightly wrong in that. I mean, I couldn't tell from the picture, but that's what I would have wanted to do. And maybe they did do that.
Chauvelin Vincent Peters wanted on a province-wide arrest warrant.
Yes. Actually, we have additional mugshots of him. Here's the second picture of oh, stop clicking things. This is so they're never going to catch this guy. I guarantee you he is 50 steps ahead of them right now and is probably going to steal the moon.
Only Tooth knows how to find the humor in today's crazy world.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Toronto real estate prices slip further. Weak sales meet record inventory.
Yeah. So again, Toronto prices are plummeting. The average prices are down over $200,000 over the last couple of years. Did you get? I might have thrown it in, and you didn't see it, but the cloned meat.
Yeah. I actually had listeners text me about this. I thought it was lab grown meat, and so I couldn't find anything on it. But it's not lab grown. It's Canada quietly clears cloned meat to be sold with no labeling in the supermarkets, in the grocery stores.
Yes. Now, it's funny because they wanted to have. Remember back in the day, I think we talked about it with QDM, where they wanted to have beef labeled as being, I don't know, cause of heart attacks or something like that.
Yes, a while back. Yep.
Yeah. Where's the health concern on this? We're just going to have cloned meat and we're not going to say anything.
It seems like a pretty standard op from our government, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is like how you'll see on snacks sometimes the really fine print is that it contains a source of alternative protein or something like that, which means it's made with crickets.
Yeah. Alberta's AUPE nursing care members have overwhelmingly backed a strike, with 98% of 16,000 voting in favor. While a strike notice could be issued on November 17th, further negotiations are planned. Members cite stagnant wages and unsafe conditions.
Yeah. That's a really interesting way to put it. You're going to go on strike because of unsafe conditions. If something is unsafe in the workforce, you have this obligation. It's sometimes called a right to refuse unsafe work, but essentially it's an obligation. If you're being asked to do something that's unsafe, you are required to not fucking do it. You don't just keep doing it and then bring it up when the next contract negotiation comes up. You shut that shit down and you get it fixed and figured out. Anybody who's spent more than 10 minutes in the oil field knows this inside and out. And so, yeah, it lacks credibility.
Over 5,000 researchers oppose order to share 25 years of federal grant applicant data. It went on. One of the quotes was, 5 years is too short to identify real trends. By analyzing 25 years of data, we obtain a much more complete and reliable view of the evolution, which allows us to distinguish between occasional fluctuations and fundamental changes. Bloc Quebecois MP Maxime Blanchette, vice president of the committee, said in an emailed statement. Thousands of academics who signed the open letter say they feel targeted and that the committee has become an arena to wage a battle against equity, diversity, and inclusion in research.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's exactly it. And when universities only hire people who check at minimum one of these boxes, of course, DEI people are going to feel targeted because they're the only ones in the industry. If you do anything regarding that industry, it's targeting the BIPOC community. They're the only ones left. when the layoffs end up happening at the federal level, guess who's going to be disproportionately affected? Women, people of color, and LGBTQ people, right? But they're not going to be disproportionately affected within the demographic of the public sector, because that is the whole public sector at this point. That's who they hire. They specifically, we've seen it time and again, say preference will be given to ... And this is the same thing. So them saying, oh, we're being targeted. You're the only fuckers left in the building.
Here's Marty up north. Last week, the government of Alberta introduced Bill 7, the Water Amendment Act. It's a routine amendment aimed at addressing growing water demands in the province through administrative and regulatory improvements. And then he went on to say, I just find it funny that they needed to revise the definition of water and still screwed it up. So they
look at the definition. Read that definition out loud.
Okay. Water means all water on or under the surface of the ground, whether in liquid or solid state, and precipitation that is intercepted above the ground and captured by works.
Yeah, as in rain barrels. That's the new part. The intercepted water. So here's the thing. They added that definition, and now we need to be careful, because now a little ways down the road, you're going to see what happened in plenty of the states where they're like, oh, well, guess what? This is our water now. It's not your water, even though you collected it. There were a couple things here you missed, though. The Angela Pitt is facing recall legislation, and there's a whole bunch of UCP MLAs who are facing recall legislation. And it's interesting. I reached out to several people who were trying to spearhead this initiative, and almost invariably have comments turned off on their posts, by the way. Not a single one would get back to me on why. The interesting thing about this, regarding Angela Pitt specifically, is that no one has given a reason why this is happening. And so I invited a bunch of people on the podcast. Nothing.
Crickets?
Couldn't. Exactly, crickets. Here's the thing. They've even got a hashtag for this. It's hashtag recall the mall. Recall the mall. Hashtag recall the mall. I don't think they thought it through very well. I actually got hell from it for inviting one person on. They said, if I bring outside union-affiliated NDP couch potato beer-swilling pizza eaters to decide who gets to represent people, I'm going to be laughed out of the neighborhoods. Who wants to embarrass themselves and associate with a corrupt NDP? All I was doing was just asking to hear their side of it. And then
I got texts about you inviting them on. I got texts say inquisitive of like, does Twos want Angela Pitt out? I'm like, do you know who Twos is? Twos.
I would have really liked to have a conversation with these people.
I know you would. I know exactly where you were going with it. And I think they did too. I think, honestly, to all the lovely texters and listeners of the show, they would have been entertained if they would have come on. They would have been.
Oh, that would have been great. I probably, once I got confirmation that they were going to come on, I probably would have reached out to Angela and been like, hey, do you want to come on this too?
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
That would have been something.
Say it to my face kind of thing.
Yes.
Here's another one. So Avi Lewis, this guy is one of the NDP leadership candidates. He's upset that the government isn't spending enough money on things. And he says that we need a public option for streaming services in Canada. Now, readers added context. Canada has a public streaming service called CBC Gem. So this NDP leadership hopeful doesn't even know that CBC Gem exists. So, I mean, two things here. One, if this fucking guy doesn't know that CBC Gem exists, I don't think their subscriber count is very high.
Yeah, the CBC Gem's target audience doesn't know they
This is
exist.
literally their wheelhouse.
Correct.
And the second point is that I feel as though this person perfectly encapsulates everything that NDP voters think and believe and support. And I can think of no better candidate to represent them on the world stage than this individual.
Said
Yukon,
twos about every single NDP candidate. Do you want the poll yet, or you still got a couple else?
still got a couple else.
Oh, of course you do.
Yukon Strong had to work.
What
so
a tire fire mashup 183 on this side has become. Carry on, twos. Yukon Strong, fire away.
Yeah, Yukon Strong was going to come on, but work kept him away from this. But the Yukon Party, which is the conservative party in the Yukon, has a super majority. It's weird because the numbers are really small, but yeah, they've got a really strong majority. Interesting thing. I mean, we talked about this leading up to it. The NDP only kept one of their seats, and I'm not actually even sure if that's entirely correct. I don't think they have any. I saw one that said this one says they have one seat, and I saw other ones saying that the NDP has all of the seats that the Conservative Party doesn't have. Now, the Yukon Liberal Party didn't even run a full slate of candidates. They ran, including in ones where they were incumbents. And so it was really interesting to see the lead up to this, and I never really understood what the hell was going on. But that's how it went. And I just want to point out, just speaking of the, oh shoot. Okay, well maybe I can't find it real quick. Anyways, the Yukon NDP is the people who literally put out during a prior election their in their material that the Yukon NDP will something environment, because the NDP aren't a serious party. And then there's another clip here. And then I don't know, we could talk about the Jays a little bit, although it's going to come up a few different times.
I thought that was Dougie Ford.
That's the whole idea.
Oh,
it's AI. Nobody's actually standing there with a baseball bat and a Blue Jay.
Thanks, twos.
But yeah, beauty of a post by Crumb's Body. Ford to hold press conference at 10.
I couldn't read it. I couldn't read what it was said. That is great. That is great. I'm here for all the Doug Ford memes. It is fantastic.
Well, we've got another. We've got a couple good ones coming at you.
All right, poll. If a federal election were held tomorrow,
who
would you vote for? Right now, 43.4%.
Yeah, go to the next picture though, Sean. Okay, actually, sorry, go back to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, wait, I lied. Okay, second one. No, it's definitely the first one.
No, it's definitely you. I'm coming through the screen and getting you. All right. Well, yeah.
Start at the first one. Start at the first one. We'll handle it chronologically.
No. Go back to the
Alberta.
Second one.
Alberta.
Goodness.
Has the Conservatives at 44% and the Liberals at 42%. Now go to the second one. If you actually go into the results of the poll, it has the Conservative Party at 51% and the Liberal Party at 37%. This is the granularity of that graph that we just looked at. That graph has a 42-44 split. And then when you look at the actual math in the poll, it's 51-37. Canadian polls are garbage.
Sure you don't want me to go back to the second one?
Okay, go to the third one.
Separation. David Eby just told Alberta that they will never get a pipeline through BC unless it's fully taxpayer funded and the federal government forces it through.
Yeah, this is actually, it's a clip worth watching. And I don't say that very often about the NDP because they're not a serious party. But just keep in mind, I guess, that if there was no pipeline, if there was no chance of pipeline, if no one was ever going to build a pipeline, the easy answer for him would be to just say, have at her if you want, but no one's going to. But why is he so dead set on stopping something that he claims doesn't exist?
What is obvious to me and has yet to fully sink in for some individuals, which is that there is no pipeline project across the north. There is no route. There is no proponent. There is no financing. Simply because the Premier of Alberta would like to get rid of the oil tanker ban on the North Coast does not mean that anybody wants to build this pipeline. It would cost $40 to $50 billion. It would require navigating a consensus at the provincial and coastal First Nations level that has a different approach to growing our economy by developing our coast. And so I'll be blunt, I don't see any prospect of a pipeline unless it is fully taxpayer funded and the federal government forces it through over provincial and Indigenous objections. So it's really difficult for me to shadow box with a non-existent project that has non-existent benefits because it will never be built and it's not going to happen.
Then why did you come out with this big announcement that you're going to protect the coast? Because he wants to preemptively scare away potential investment. That's the thing. This is him trying to set up a guard in front of the house. All of this posturing he's doing, all of it is because he's worried about something like this. And no, if the private sector built it, it probably wouldn't cost $40 to $50 billion. Given the fact that the government spent $40 billion, I would guess that the private sector would probably spend about $4 billion.
He's also urging, we urge the federal government to stand firm in its commitment to uphold the tanker ban. Protecting the North Coast is not an item for negotiation. It is a national responsibility, and it is quantifiable investment. It is a quantifiable investment in Canada's treasured marine environment and the economic prosperity of future generations.
Why have a tanker ban if no one's going to build a pipeline? Why do you care?
And you have Marty up north had put out the Alberta NDP just introduced Motion 501 asking all MLAs to denounce separatism and express support for national unity.
Yes. They're trying woefully ineptly to box the UCP into saying, because I'm pretty sure it's probably not too crazy to think that there are likely some, if not a great many, UCP MLAs who would support independence. But they're just not ready to say it openly yet. Or probably they're ready to say it openly, but it's not politically expedient to say it openly yet. And so they're trying to paint this as some evil, horrible thing. And I find it really interesting that one of the things in this motion was to urge the government to secure a better deal for Alberta within the Federation without leveraging the threat of separatism, which is basically everything that Danielle Smith and the UCP has been doing for the past several years. The only people who thought that the current deal was just fine as it was is the NDP. They're the only ones who've been like, we don't want to go to the government and tell them to quit screwing us over. Why are you being so mean and hostile? And now in this motion, they're literally asking for the same stuff that they've been denouncing the UCP over for literal years. The NDP, Sean, are not a serious party.
We switch to elbow draggers. This has been something Twos has coined over the last, I don't know how many months has it been, Twos. Regardless, chicken prices expected to rise by 20 to 25% over the next several months. Scotiabank cutting over 2,500 Canadian jobs. According to reports, the bank is eliminating nearly 2,500 jobs in Toronto, with other positions across country also on the chopping block. Glencore said to consider shutting Canada's largest copper plant. Glencore is planning to wind down its Horn smelter, Canada's largest copper metal producing plant, citing steep environmental environmental upgrades, and operational costs.
Now, keep in
And-
mind that copper's gone up something like 44% over the last several years. Copper, it's not going through the roof quite like silver and gold, but it's not cheap. So there's a lot of money to be made in mining copper, but there's not a lot of money to be made in Canada.
U.S. becomes first country to export 10 million tons of LNG in a single month.
But there's no business case for exporting LNG.
Ontario furniture manufacturer Holsag to close and relocate to U.S. Up to 130 jobs will be lost as furniture manager Holsag Canada will shutter its facility in Lindsay, Ontario, March of 2026.
Yep. Yeah. Pet Brett brings up an interesting point. Will Alberta NDP also ask Quebec to give up on their separation rhetoric?
No.
No. And that's the thing, is that they don't have consistent stances on any issue. Okay, well, we're not going to say anything if Quebec wants to separate, but if Alberta wants to separate, they're all a bunch of jerks. Well, but they
Correct.
both want to do the same thing. Why is one a jerk and one's not?
Yes. Floor crossing. I didn't find I was represented there, says MP Chris Endretamont, as he responds to a question about his decision to leave the Conservative Party and join the caucus of the governing Liberals. So this was a Conservative MP. He's across the floor to the Liberals now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, out in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
See, this is the issue. Here's the problem. This is why this all seems to go wrong all the time. You've got a guy who, well, I mean, he literally, here is him calling himself.
Perhaps push you out of caucus.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a part of
Oh,
it.
actually, you know what? Okay. Listen to how this question is framed. Think about media neutrality and look at how this question is
I know
framed.
You spoke of Mr. Poilievre and the direction he was going, but I'm just wondering whether the Conservative leadership style perhaps push you out of caucus.
Well, I think that's
Totally
probably a
neutral
part of it.
question.
I didn't find I was represented there. That my ideals of an Easterner, of a red Tory, I mean, quite honestly, of trying to find ways to find solutions and help your community, rather.
He calls himself an East Tory, and when he says look for solutions and try to find ways to help your community, what he's really saying is free money from the government. Okay?
I agree.
And this is the guy who crossed the floor. But before that, this is the guy that got picked as being the person who could win and did win in this riding. You're not picking good people. The Conservative Party sucks at this. They get a bunch of, red Tories. Look at Andrew Scheer. Look at Aaron O'Toole. Look at the way Poilievre completely did an about face 4 or 5 months before the election, where he just started taking marching orders from somebody that told him to tone it down rather than continue to do the thing that you're winning with. Like, think about it this way. If you're, whatever, you got a specific lineup, in a hockey game, and they're just scoring goal after goal. You guys are up by, not to the point where you're just going to like do some sympathy slowing things down, but you really want to hammer it home. You're not going to be like, okay, well, let's just get Stamkos in net. You're not going to do that. And that's exactly what they did. They've got a bunch of shitty people giving bad advice, and whenever they actually do have an opportunity to have somebody really good, they kick them out. Remember what happened with Wyatt Claypool? They just said, actually, you know what? We changed our mind. We're not going to let you even try to be the representative in Signal Hill. And then remember Sabrina Maddow? They kicked this woman out. This woman was going to be one of their MPs in Ontario, and they kicked her out. She's smart. She's got a huge history behind of being in front of the camera, and she's gorgeous. Look at those door knockers. But they didn't want her. But instead, they get this fucking schlub. Of course he crosses the floor, which, by the way, is bullshit. I said it when Danielle Smith did it. I said it when that Green MP crossed over to Liberals. I said it when that chick crossed over from Liberal to Conservative, and I'm saying it now. You shouldn't be allowed to cross the floor to another party. And this is, read this off.
This is why you don't hand over national comms to a 20-year-old influencers.
Okay, 2 months ago, Pierre Poilievre graciously hosted Chris D'Entremont for breakfast at his official residence, Stornoway. Yet this is how Chris repays him: joins the Liberals, betrays the Conservatives across the country, and backstabs his constituents. Disgraceful. Are you fucking retarded? Just because somebody gives you Eggs Benedict doesn't mean you owe them your lifetime allegiance. There's a million reasons why this was a bad idea. And the fact that he took a stack of pancakes and some scrambled eggs and maybe a little bit of crispy bacon on the side and just ran with it and turned his back on him afterwards is not the right argument to make.
You know what would be interesting is if Twos ran the national comms for the Conservative Party. That would be an entertaining thing to watch daily, I bet.
Well, it would probably, the majority of the tweets would start off by saying, "This is fucking retarded, :
Yeah, I'm gonna assume we won't see that anytime in our lifetime, but one can dream. One can dream.
In a parallel universe, Canadian politics is a lot more entertaining. Right.
Conservative MP says he was resigning next spring, denies coercion involved in decision. That's Edmonton Riverbend MP Matt Genereux.
Yes. Before we get to that, also Chris D'Entremont qualified for his pension 2 weeks ago.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Yeah. So Genereux, Edmonton MP, all of a sudden everything got real cagey. He closed down his Twitter account, was nowhere to be found. Pierre Poilievre misses out on question period yesterday. And because he missed out on question period, he didn't get to table any proposed amendments to the budget, which meant that the Bloc got to do it. And presumably, I think the best, because there's a whole lot of people saying things that, could be straight bullshit. So, like, for example, Matt Genereux says, "I want to be clear, there was no coercion involved in my decision to resign," which sounds exactly like what you would say if you're being coerced, by the way. It's a really interesting thing to just lead with. Like, "Hi, I'm Twos, and I totally did not eat that cheeseburger in the fridge." Okay? I consider
Twos
my
definitely
colleague...
ate the cheeseburger in the fridge.
Exactly. It's like that Tucker Carlson interview with the AI guy where he's like, "It sounds like you're accusing me of having him killed." This is exactly this all over again. "I want to be clear, there was no coercion involved in my decision to resign. I consider my colleagues in the Conservative Party very close friends, and I will miss them dearly. Since my resignation this evening, I had a great conversation with Pierre Poilievre, who wished me all the best, as I do him." Sounds like they hate each other's fucking guts. "I ran under his leadership in hopes we could form a government that would offer hope to Canadians. I wish him and my colleagues all the best as they continue to raise cost living issues facing Canadians." To reiterate, this long-standing decision, motherfucker, you hadn't even won the election 6 months ago. There's nothing long-standing in this decision. "This long-standing decision reflects my desire to spend more time with my family." Ding, 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 ding. There it is. We got a bingo. Everybody drink. "I'm resigning to spend more time with my family." Dude's what, like 32? You're not at a point in your life where you're just deciding to retire, okay? "My exact date of departure will still be determined at a later day, but likely this spring." Twos is going to put on his conspiracy theory hat. The best fitting explanation for everything that happened here: Poilievre missing question period in a very fucking important question period. This guy locking his account down earlier on in the day, and then saying that he's not crossing the floor, he's resigning, and he's not being coerced. Here's probably what happened. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go across the floor to the Liberals." And then Poilievre said, "Okay, cool. Just one sec here." Brings up his phone. "Hey, I got you on, you're on a speaker call, and here's the CEOs of like every major lobbying firm and a whole bunch of other stuff. I just want you to know that none of these guys will ever hire you for anything, and that they will make sure that you have no future at all in politics at all whatsoever. So enjoy the gravy train with the Liberals while it lasts, because the second it's done, you're going to be turning big rocks into small rocks for the rest of your fucking life. And then, oh, and by the way, no matter what you decide, you're not a conservative MP anymore. Now that's what I'm guessing happened. This is beautiful. This is poetic. Sherry DeNovo. So there was a few of these that popped up where people were creating fake floor crossing things, and they all got scooped up, and they were all kind of based on memes and stuff. But Sherry DeNovo, who's like this rank socialist idiot, she bought into this hook, line, and sinker. And so the Pierre Poilievre era ends, not with a bang, but with a floor crossing or 2 or 3. Here's the tweet. Breaking. Another conservative Nova Scotia MP, Randall Leahy from Sunnyvale J-Rock riding, has announced they will cross the floor to the Liberal Party. How many pepperoni sticks do you think it took to convince him to cross the floor? Hey, Smokes, let's go. He probably just wanted to leave.
Shit on who? Shithogs. Big, dirty shithogs.
Well played. Well played. And Amir Hart, wherever you are, well, you dragged in some of the stupidest people
Oh man,
the country has to offer.
Trailer Park Boys live on. Okay, drivers. Let's switch to drivers too.
Yeah.
First, you got Toronto. You got the Toronto police video. Yeah, I assume you're going to show this.
Yeah, I got kind of caught up. I'm doing something a little bit different here this week, but so here is, they've got this guy down on the ground, and well, maybe we could have a little bit of sound. So he's down on the ground because he just got tased. Dude gets out of the car to stop him, forgets to put the car in park, and the car drives over top of him. Oh, and then it gets worse. Because in his effort to get the vehicle clear, he forgot to put it in reverse and just dragged and rolled over top of this poor sack of shit.
What do you even say? I don't even know if I could say anything to that.
Hey, I'm just assuming diversity hire.
Girl 8 dead after being struck by an SUV in Oakville.
Look at this picture. This is her scooter. She was on the sidewalk with her mom or dad. I think it was her mom. And this vehicle just decided to leave the road, drove over her, killed her, and the police hadn't picked up that scooter yet. And there's a picture of that girl's scooter. She died. No name released.
And then a body of a second victim in fatal Brampton crash only discovered once car was in the Peel police impound lot.
So this was a ride sharing. This was like Uber or Lyft or whatever.
Correct.
And the car got T-boned. The driver is charged with dangerous driving causing death and failure to comply with demand. No name released, but he's 17. But
says hours after the collision, police received reports of a missing 20-year-old woman whose last location was confirmed through our shared tracking app as the crash site. Officers simultaneously checked the crash scene and attended the impound yard to determine whether evidence of a passenger existed. Officers closely examined the rear passenger compartment of the demolished Honda Civic and located the remains of the deceased woman embedded in the wreckage.
This car got T-boned so fucking hard that they didn't even know how many people were in it. And it wasn't until the woman got reported missing that they're like, Well, you know what? Maybe we need to take another look in that vehicle. And yeah, sure enough, this thing got so mangled that it was hiding an entire corpse and nobody noticed.
Yeah.
And you got, oh, shoot, that's me. Here's the next one. So we talked about this before. The guy who was suspected of being high on meth, apparently that charge has been dropped. So in Jason Preet's truck crash scene, they claimed he was intoxicated while driving, and that's been rescinded by the San Bernardino District Attorney after a toxicology report. And then somebody else jumped in and they said, this cannot be negligence. This is intentional. Sikhs will be thrown under the bus in North America to appease the growing fanatical racist rhetoric prominent in politics and social media. And then whatever this means, I don't know, Guru Ang Sang Sangat Ji. I don't think it's weird for me to notice that religious head coverings seem to affect your ability to shoulder check.
Maybe this almost could go in the happy news.
I was this next article, not that one.
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
I was
next
wondering
one.
if it could go in the happy news too.
I'm looking. Do we get a? It doesn't. Well, you know, on this show, folks, we love a good heist. Okay, so here it is. Okay, this might be one of the best I've seen yet. A man walking home from a bar got the shock of his life when a massive moose charged straight into an ATM, shattering it open and sending thousands of dollars flying through the air. Security footage shows the man wearing a hood rushing over and scooping up more than $200,000 in cash before sprinting off into the night.
Just imagine that. You're just walking home from the bar, a little bit tipsy, probably had a good evening, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a moose runs right in front of you, smashing into an ATM, and it just starts spitting out dollar bills.
Yes.
Right. I mean, who would ever think to make an ATM moose proof? Like, they've done all these things because everyone's tried everything. You know, they'll wrap chains around them and drag them out. You know, I used to work with this one guy who said that, you know, because they have GPSs on them, they basically him and some friends stole an ATM once, and then they had it in the back of the truck, and they kept on moving, and they got the safe, or they got the box open and took all the money out, and then kept on driving and threw it over one of the bridges northeast of Lloyd. There's all these different things that people have done to break into ATMs, but I don't know if they've actually gone and considered what happens if the animals want some money.
The locals are calling it the most Montana heist ever.
I think it's great.
That is one for the ages. All right. If that wasn't in goofy news, here's some goofy coming at you. Okay. Manitoba passed Bill 48, allowing the detention of highly intoxicated individuals to be detained for up to 72 hours. A reporter from APTN asked if this was appropriate given some people having had trauma from residential schools.
Well, that's exactly it. Just think about the racist assumptions being made here.
Without their consent for up to 3 days. Great question. We've been working very closely with the medical experts, and of course, they've been guiding us right along the way. And as you know, IPTA has been running. You know, we're looking at expanding this, given we've been seeing with substance use right across our province. And this is to support and meet people where they're at, and to keep our community and safer. So, thank you for that question.
Here it comes.
Okay, thank you. And my follow-up is, how will you make sure you are not re-traumatizing people with this 72-hour detox, a population we know widely struggles with past experiences of powerlessness and confinement through the residential school systems?
They're saying we are going to detain and detox anybody caught high on drugs. If you're a homeless guy who's strung out on something, we are going to take you and we're going to put you in a detox facility. And then the reporter says, well, yeah, but how do you reconcile this with the issues they've had with residential schools? You're the only one making this connection. It's only
Here's
I don't know. Do you not see that? Just like the racism isn't on this side, guys.
Here is a metaphor, a great metaphor summing up the current state of Tim Hortons. This was yesterday in Stephenville, Newfoundland.
Yes. So there's for those of you listening along, the big signpost for Tim Hortons fell over and landed on a car.
We got Marty up north again. Back on.
No. Just before you get to that.
Oh, one before. All right. What do you got for me?
Well, I think you're going to like this.
Try to guess what company they're from, and it might be a tough one, but let's give it a try.
This company is a leader in the Canadian snacking market with some of the most popular treats in the country.
Well, this is probably an unfair competition.
Doing a
because
thing.
I think I've hit every single chocolate company around. Look at the size of this. You know how much
Doug Ford's doing another video where he's eating a bunch of fucking food. And it never ends with this guy. It never ends with this guy. I hope he doesn't do anything else stupid this week.
Marty up north, a veteran is someone who transitioned from military life in the Canadian Armed Forces to civilian life. Canada has 375,000 veterans of all ages. Thank you for your service. I just find this chart funny. An X in a cell indicates the data is suppressed to meet the confidentiality requirements of the Statistics Act. Can you guess how many women ages 19 to 29 are veterans? And if you show it.
Yeah, so here's so they need to, according to government regulations, that X means that the number needs to be hidden. And so they have men at 5,641. Total women women at X.
Unknown.
And total veteran in that demographic, 6,326. So to solve for X, you subtract 5,641 from 6,326. This is literally the easiest math problem that you could do. It's like the first thing you learn is addition and subtraction. And despite that, they're like, no, the regulations say we need to hide this number.
Yep, our government brilliantly at work. Rare genetic disorder causes Portuguese boy to reek of dead fish every time he eats seafood.
Just imagine. Just imagine you're from a coastal country, and every time you eat seafood, you smell like rotten garbage. Like, the world is a vast and bizarre place full of all kinds of interesting things. Rotten fish gets its distinctive smell from a molecule called trimethylamine, and the human body produces trimethylamine from nitrogen-rich foods such as fish. An enzyme called flavin-containing monooxygenase 3 breaks down trimethylene in the body, changing it to an odorless compound, trimethylene anoxide. But if the enzyme isn't working as it should, trimethylene accumulates in the body and can make a person produce a foul, rotten smelling fish aroma. So he's just missing this one enzyme, and that's it. And because of that, he smells like rotten fish.
A dog in Alberta, Phoebe the Pug, has earned over 200 certifications, including a boating license, defensive driving certificate, and now Alberta's ProServe liquor staff training using AI. She completed many online courses in minutes, exposing gaps in identity verification and prompting calls for stricter standards to ensure online training actually teaches real people the skills meant to keep Albertans safe. She can now legally work as a bartender.
I don't think this is the first time I've said this, but we should probably make it a little bit more difficult to get a driver's license in this country.
Study compares heart risks of COVID-19 infection and vaccination.
And the results may surprise you. Look, I get the fact that you guys have to do whatever the fuck you can to get anybody to click on anything to do with COVID, and the results may surprise you headline went out of style like 8 years ago. Okay. Also, it says that it's heavily obfuscated and just very obtuse, but the risks of myocarditis from the vaccination is smaller than the risks from not being vaccinated, despite the fact that we got told it was 100% safe by Pfizer itself and by Justin Trudeau and by a great number of people. They're saying that while there are myocarditis risks, that they are smaller than the risks of not getting vaccinated.
Bullshit.
Yes. Well, I mean, if they've already changed the story once, how many more times are they going to change the story? I don't think anybody who isn't vaccinated yet is going to read this and be like, oh, well, actually, you know what? If they got it figured out, maybe I will. Maybe I will. Right? Like, I'm not going to go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Although I kind of want to, just because it would be hilarious.
Venue of $10 million.
Think about it, Sean. Like, after all of that shit and all that coercion,
Twos walks in, rolls it up, and says, "You got me. You got me."
Well, no, and now they're like, okay, it's voluntary, and if you want it, you can pay $100. And I'm like, see, that's the kind of thing I wanted to hear in the first place. Yeah, I'll get the vaccination now, please. That's all you had. That's all you had to do. Just quit being jerks about it. I mean, I'm not going to because I don't want to have heart disease, but it would be pretty funny.
Sure. I don't see I don't know. Maybe maybe I'm dense today. Venue of $10 million skills development fund recipient partners now as licensed as an adult entertainment club.
The Doug Ford Ontario Conservatives spent $10 million at a strip club. They gave a grant to this building for $10 million, and then now it's reimagined, it's redesigned as an adult entertainment facility. So Doug Ford just spent $10 million at the Peelers. Do you think he got a lap dance? I don't know. This
one heck of a lap dance, too, I guess.
You know what? As far as government spending goes, this is one where I'm like, okay, well, you know what? They're helping out single mothers. They're helping out people with drug problems. It's the arts. And it's not like these people are wasting money on frivolous things like clothing. It's actually going to be put to good use.
Mississippi mother kills escaped monkey fearing for
I
her
could keep
children.
going.
I know you
No,
can.
fine.
For
fine,
her
fine.
children's. One of the monkeys that escaped last week, we covered this, after a truck overturned on a Mississippi highway, was shot and killed earlier Sunday by a woman who says she feared for the safety of her children. Bond Ferguson said she and other residents have been warned that the escaped monkeys might carry diseases, so she fired her gun.
Yes. Yet another reason why guns are important. But also, imagine how weird it would be to be in North America and shooting a monkey in the fucking wild.
I guess.
Well, because I mean, you might be like, oh, there's a nuisance coyote around or something like that, or maybe you're just gonna go shoot gophers in a field. But to just be like,
be on the lookout for a monkey,
fucking monkeys. Get get the 303.
Blue Jays fell victim to Carney curse. The Blue Jays are victim of the Carney curse, and they are there are the other explanations for why the Jays lost Game 7 of the World Series, but the Carney curse can't be ignored.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, he was in the dugout there, and then they ended up losing the World Series. I don't know if anybody was watching sports lately in this past week, but God hates the Blue Jays. It looked like they were turning things around, and was it the 8th in Game 6? And then, you know, they get all these people on base, and then the ball gets wedged underneath the mat. I don't know how many times has that happened. Like, basically never. It was such a weird thing that there was so many people who didn't even know what the call was. And then they lose Game 7. And some people are saying it's because Mark Carney went and visited them just like he did. What's that gay pride hockey team? The lubricators. Shoot. What was it? Remember we talked about them talking about how they were happy to have that pride tunnel, which I think in their circles also means booty hole. Shoot, I can't. What? Help me out here. I'm dying, Sean. What was that other team that he visited that ended up getting skunked?
You've been thinking about this all week, haven't you?
Yeah, and I still can't remember the name. What's the name?
Majority of Canadians say immigration levels still too
What's
high.
the name, Sean?
But confidence growing in Carney fixing broken system. A new poll.
Sean, what's the
A
name?
new poll says this. No worries, Flames fans. You got no curse to worry about with Carney. It'll be a decade before you find folks are back at anything meaningful.
Oh, that's right. It was the Oilers. It was the Edmonton Oilers.
Mm.
I mean, I was so
Mhm.
close with lubricators.
After or a year after implementing some seismic policy changes to reduce immigration intakes, the Liberals are closing the gap on the opposition in public perception and their ability to handle a system what many have view as broken, and said the Abacus data survey published on the eve of release of Ottawa's 26 to 28 immigration levels plan on Tuesday. Overall, 38% of Canadians favor the Conservatives to stick handle the issue compared to 29% of the Liberals.
Yes. So 38 for the Conservatives, 29 for the Liberals. And yet the headline, majority of Canadians say immigration level is still too high, but confidence growing in Carney fixing broken system. The simpler headline would be that the public thinks that the opposition would be doing a better job. You also missed, this was
Or
a really
that
late edition.
neither. Yeah, well, whatever.
This happened. Yeah, that's also true. This happened like 10 minutes before we went live, so you probably didn't see it. But read that tweet.
I can't read it to us.
Oh, I believe in
Trans
you.
perp who got black lesbian kicked out of gym, broke ex-wife's jaw, and took her name. Is that what it says? That's what it says.
That's exactly what it says. That is the headline. Trans perp who got black lesbian kicked out of gym, broke ex-wife's jaw, and took her name. Now, I'm guessing this is that video or follow-up to that video from a few days ago where there was that black woman in the sports bra who was complaining about the trans dude in the change room and got kicked out of Gold's Gym. Yeah. That's $1 million headline right there.
I guess so. In June, a BBC teleprompter instructed presenter Martine. Actually, just show the video. Just show the video. I don't even know why I'm reading this. Well, I do know, but
okay. Now, she was fined for her facial expression, and for those of you not watching, you probably should. But here's you'll figure out where the facial expression probably came from just by listening to it.
London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has released research which says that nearly 600 heat-related deaths are expected in the UK. Malcolm Mystery, who is involved in the research, says that the aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions
got fined for the facial expression.
For the facial expression when she said women. Free speech, man. Free speech.
Stranded Blue Jays fans expressed anger and frustration at Metrolinx and UP Express, after the last train left without them. Many pointed out the hypocrisy of government who encouraged transit over driving only to be left behind when it mattered. And then, of course, there was this as well.
Yeah, so they got ratioed into oblivion. Reminder, we know the game is running late, but transit won't wait. The final GO train leaves Union Station soon, and the last TTC train is around 1:30 a.m. Check schedules here. You haven't had a World Series in your city in 3 decades. I remember switching back and forth between watching the Ninja Turtles and watching the World Series. That's how long ago it was. Although, actually, I would probably still do that today, in all fairness. But I did it as a child. That's how long ago it was. And you can't even get enough civic support and excitement going to go to some of the train people and be like, listen, motherfucker, you got to work an hour late today. What the hell is wrong with you? No wonder you lost. No
Happy
wonder
news.
everybody's leaving your city. No wonder your premier is sending $10 million to a strip club and constantly doing videos where he's eating chocolates and ice cream bars and pouring out whiskey. You guys are a disgrace. You should be ashamed. You should just leave the country. Just get a big saw, like a big Looney Tunes commercial or cartoon, and just cut a saw all the way around Toronto and just push it out into one of the lakes, whichever one you're next to. I don't know, because you're not important. But just do that and go away. You suck at everything.
Happy news, twos. Happy news. Convicted rapist who attacked Newfoundland woman dies in custody of Ontario prison.
Oh, well, maybe you guys don't do everything wrong.
Gas pump champion. You want to show the video?
Yeah,
You
I
want to show
do.
the video? All right.
Of course
Gas
I
pump
do.
champion. Gas pump champion here.
The other thing I didn't realize I loved so much until we started doing the mashup is obscure sports. Like, tell me this doesn't belong on ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Attempt the perfect pump.
We're probably going to get dinged for copyright infringement because of this. Boom. This is an actual sport.
The
There are
obscure
people.
talents you have.
There are people
Pumping
in the
perfect
crowd
pump.
watching him pump gas and having it stop at the perfect amount. And he's a champion.
Community notes, the UCP AGM November 28th. It should be noted, Daryl Comic is running for president of the UCP. He
That would actually be pretty damn good.
For all the people who have paid attention in the show, Comic has been on here before.
Mhm.
Of course, his riding, or Eric Bouchard's riding, he's the
Yes.
president of that area. They've done the Courage to Listen and Injection of Truth town halls. He's running for president, be able to vote for that upcoming, but UCP AGM November 28th. Quick Dick McDick is live November 22nd in Lashburn. Mashpeel January 17th in Kalmar. So we got 12 teams left for that. And
Pretty
then
excited about that.
And then the Cornerstone Forum is March 28th in Calgary. And we just confirmed yesterday Sam Cooper will be in attendance for that. So there's the latest speaker to be announced for the Cornerstone Forum in Calgary, March 28th. So
that's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Cornerstone Forum 2026 is shaping up to be something. He's, of course, in a long list of, you got Tom Longo, Matt Ehret, Alex Craner, all returning. You got Vince Lanchi, Chad Prather, Karen Katowski, and now Sam Cooper. I hope I'm not spacing on anyone. Tom Bodrovics is coming back.
222 minutes.
Is going to be reprising a role there as well.
Sean's going to be there.
Yes. Yes.
You should get Tristan Hopper on there. And John Rich.
John Rich would be something. Hey?
Oh, yeah.
John Rich would
He'd
be
like,
something.
I'm just going to sing a little song I wrote about how stupid the government is. And then it would be an absolute banger.
Yes, it would be. Twos, Mashup 183 in the books. What a it's just been a train wreck on my side. I feel like none of my stuff worked today, so that's great. Usually that's a twos thing, but today it was me. So Mashup 183 in the books, folks.
Welcome
We're here
to the party, pal.
We're here every Friday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, rain or shine. No matter if everybody's, no matter if either one of our technology is working that day, we're here, and we hope you'll join us and share it out far and wide. Appreciate you all tuning in. Twos, as always, thanks for being here, and we'll catch up to you fine folks next week.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, popping, locking, salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome to the mashup.